Bible, imperfect people, and seeing lived and dwelt with them, and everything was perfect until sin entered Solomon. But then the kings were bad. Solomon. But then the kings were bad. They were some long, desperate paths and just hoped to this day people to speak God's word in truth and love. And we're absolutely those into your mind to make you think that God can't actually speak to you. Make you think that God can't actually speak to you. But he is faithful. Small stories, and we've been talking about kings and kingdoms and all these wars, and now we're literally. He's a pretty wicked, messed up person, and God has reached his limit. And so this is what Elijah, the word that Elijah brings to him, says, now Elijah the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, as the Lord, the God of Israel. You're kind of wondering, well, God, why haven't you stepped in? Why haven't you provided for this? God, why haven't you changed this in my life? This is God talking to Elijah, turn eastward and hide. This is God talking to Elijah, turn eastward and hide. We're going to play out. But he said, you know what? God is faithful. God will dry things up in your life. He'll dry things up in your life in order to guide you into the next step, in order to guide you into his living waters, in order to guide you into his living waters, in order to guide you into the dependency on him. And sometimes he'll dry up the things. I began having clarity. I began having vision and hope. And Elijah called to her and asked, would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? As she was going to get it, he called, and bring me a piece of bread also. So I read that. I was like, are you serious? That's how I would feel if I was Elijah and God was calling me to go to this town where there's probably some rich people and probably some fancy people that had extra food, yet he was calling her to a very She says, she replied, I don't have any bread. I have a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son that we may eat it and die. It has been the end of the world. What's interrupt and to pull us out of the mud and the mire and the hopelessness. For fear. God says, don't be afraid, right? But out of the spite of fear that we have, we are called to take action. No matter what things look like or feel like, we're called to take action in response to our fear. What God is displaying in this verse is that we can, despite our fears, we can still give an offering to God. We can still give a sacrifice. So God saw her faith. Time later, the son of the woman became ill. He grew worse and finally stopped breathing. She said to Elijah, what do you have against me, man of God? Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son? I think what was happening here in this situation is that just as shocked as the widow was, so was Elijah. He's so confused. He's so confused. He said, what is going on? God, why? He said, what is going on? God, why are you doing this? I don't know if you've ever asked God, that are you doing this? I don't know if you've ever asked God that question before. God, why? And God is faithful He will continue to bring you miracles because that is how good God is. That is who he is. Our faithlessness his faithfulness far outweighs our faithlessness. In any given day, up to prove to us that you deserve our praise, that you deserve our love, God, and our affection. So Jesus, I pray that we would stand today and say, I know that God is faithful to me. God, that every person in this room, Lord, that you would speak to them and let them know
Him and just let go of this need to have all the answers.